What is up, YouTube? Today we're going to be talking about the card that's going to be making the Silver Tempest expansion, which is Lugia VSTAR. This is the card that everyone has been talking about. This is the card that is projected to have the highest power level of any of the new cards coming out. People are saying it's going to be stronger than Lugia, or Palkia, stronger than Arceus, like stronger than Mew even on release, and I'm inclined to agree with them. Now, what does Lugia VSTAR do? Summoning Star is the V-Star power that makes it really good, that lets you get 2 colorless Pokemon from your deck that don't have a rule box, from your discard, and put them onto your bench. Pokemon V, GX, EX, etc. have rule boxes, and you can only use one V-Star. And Tempest Dive is 220, and you may discard a stadium and play. So what does Lugia really get to pull out? Well, we're looking at Archeops. Archeops is Primal Turbo, and you can pull out 2 special energy cards and attach them to one of your Pokemon, which, I mean, this deck pretty consistently gets to this combo turn 2 every time. If not turn 2, turn 3. And once you've got the combo running, you can set up pretty much anything. Now, why is Lugia V-Star so scary? Well, not only can you play Lugia, there's a lot of other cards that benefit greatly off of being able to use special energy, especially when you can cheat 4 of them into play every turn. So today we're going to be talking about Lugia decks, and the first look at Lugia decks from Japan. Now, this is where my deck building process starts when I head into a new format. I usually look at existing lists, no matter if they're a 10-person tournament, no matter if they're a 100-person tournament. You always have to look at these results, because if they won, there is some merit to them. Doesn't mean they're completely the law, they're not like written in stone, but you can take them and actually adapt them to how you want to work on it. So this is kind of where you get your ideas, and the site I like to use is hohonews.com, a Japanese website that usually tracks a lot of these like cities level, like local results, and even larger. And so this is kind of where my first idea to go look at deck lists is. So this is kind of where my process is going to begin, because Silver Tempest is dropping on PTCGO this week and PTCG Live. So if you guys are excited for that, let me know in the comments below what you want me to start with. I'll be doing a deck profile and gameplay, that's right, you heard me, every single day on release until I leave for Brazil, and maybe we'll have a couple through Brazil as well. So be on the lookout for those as I'm doing them, because I'm excited for Silver Tempest. It's going to be my grand return back to content and doing deck profiles and gameplay, something that I've been lazy on, unfortunately, for myself. But let's look at some of the ideas that Lugia V-Star has. Now, one of the cooler ideas, let's see if I can make this bigger, yep, that Lugia has, is that you can play the Radiant Zard. Now, Radiant Zard, typically, you need 5 energies to make it work, and you can't really pull it off whenever you want. But with the combination of Archeops and things like all these special energies, you can actually power up a Charizard in 1 turn and knock out something with 280 HP with the combination of Choice Belt. So that's something that's not to be underestimated, when you can just pull this out of the pocket and just do this, and your opponent doesn't expect it. Now, if Radiant Zard hits the discard, you're just losing a 1-prizer, so you're not really pressed about it. So you could play cards like an Ordinary Rod, a Thornton, something like that to just get back to where you need to be. The Amazing Rare Yveltal is also a really cool card, in my opinion, in this deck, because the attack requires a fighting... Is that a fighting or a fire? I don't know. It's one of the two. A fire, fighting, psychic, and a dark, and 2 colorless, which is just a really weird combination of energy. Like, you're never pulling that off in a normal deck. But with the fact that you can play this guy with Archeops, means you can pull the Auroras out pretty easily, and the attack just says knock out the active Pokemon. You can just tempo swing the entire game by knocking out your opponent's big threat. Maybe they invested a lot of resources into killing your Lugia. All of a sudden, they've lost the Lugia. It's nuts to me. So I really like the Aurora build of this deck. There's a bunch of different ways you can play it, because you don't have to play 4 Aurora. You don't have to play 4 Powerful. You don't have to play 2 V-Guard. You don't have to play 1 Hidden Darkness energy. You can play whatever special energy you want, because Archeops will pull it out for you. Serena does make this deck get a huge boost, because Serena does act as a boss as well as a discard fodder when you're using your Quick Balls, your Ultra Balls, your Incenses. I do think 2 Crobat's probably correct over just 1 Crobat, because when you're using cards like Serena and all these ball cards, you want to be digging very aggressively for the things you need in your deck. So being able to use 2 Crobats as well, like a Serena in 1 turn, or 2 Crobats plus like a Marnie or a Research, can really be the difference maker. Now, some of these other lists that we're looking at, this is one that also that was very interesting. This one played copies of Lost City. The other one played just Collapse Stadium, because you do want ways to bump Path to the peak. If Path comes into play, you might be a little bit in danger of using your cards like your Crobats especially, and then the Zard. So this one's also using the Aurora heavy build, trying to feature the Yveltal, Amazing Rare Yveltal, but it's playing a Crobat VMAX, because if you can get the Crobat VMAX into play with the Auroras or the Darks or whatever, and put a Jammer on it, Mew VMAX can't really play the game. Like, this is such a better option than Drapion, because if this guy's not prized, you can just set it up and just start swinging. And even if your Drapion is prized, you can take the first knockout with the Yveltal, and then pivot into the Crobat if you need to, because you now have 5 5 dark energies theoretically. So if you can get 3 onto the Yveltal and 2 onto the Crobat, you now have a winning recipe here. And you can also chase down stuff like Genesect early to try to pull out other prizes, but you cannot fundamentally deal with this 300 HP behemoth, especially when you have a Tool Jammer on it. So this makes for a really cool recipe. Now this list is also playing Force Arena and a boss, which is just extra firepower to make sure you can hunt down and get that last prize. So I really like that as well. Now this one was an 80-person tournament that was won by this list as well. There's the Auroras, but what's cooler about this list is it focuses a lot on the Zard with 2 heat energies to make sure your Zard is a little bit tankier, can get to those big numbers if you need to. And then you have an amazing rare Raikou that does 120 to the active and 120 to a bench Pokemon. I think this is specifically for the Lugia Mirror, because in a Lugia Mirror, you're not really playing Manaphy. This list does play a Manaphy, which is playing around the amazing rare Lugia, because that's going to take care of the active and then hit the Dunsparce probably. Or you can just put some heavy damage onto another Lugia, onto something, and just start setting up for big knockouts down the line. Now, I don't like the lack of Dunsparce in this list, but I do think that the Raikou is a very cool card in this list. This one plays a copy of the Zekrom, which can paralyze your opponent's active. There isn't very many switch cards in Lugia right now, or 0, perhaps even. So you can buy a turn with the Zekrom, paralyzing your opponent's active, and then just go in for the kill or like clean up with something like this Greninja. It's a very interesting idea. I don't know how well it'll work out in practice while you're trying to set up. Maybe it's the answer you need when you're going second in the Lugia Mirror to buy yourself a turn. I don't know why the Unknown's in here. That seems very sketchy to me. But besides that, this list is pretty cool. This one is another 80-person tournament, and this one played a copy of Professor Burnett, which gets 3 Pokemon and puts them in the discard, I believe. Which is interesting because I guess it's just a way to cheat the Pokemon to the discard. But again, there's another wide array of energies. As you can see, like I said, you don't have to play the 4 double turbos or like the 1. It's just whatever energies you want to play, it works. The 4 powerful and the 4 Aurora seem to be like semi-staple in these lists. Besides that, do whatever you want. No Dunsparce in this list either, but there is a Manaphy. So this metagame seems like this player and some of these players have been playing for the amazing Raikou, and that's something that's very interesting to note in my personal opinion. Like, if you're playing the Raikou, they're also playing the Manaphy to play around the other Raikou, but they're not playing the Dunsparce, so Raikou kind of gets to take 2 prizes for free no matter what. Which is interesting to me because I don't really know if that's the correct strategy, but who am I to judge? Same thing here with this kind of a list. I think I missed a list here. No, maybe not. Same idea here with this kind of a list. Same idea here with this kind of list, but this one playing a path of its own, maybe to stick your opponent. This one's got an Ice Q in here to deal with things like Regigigas, which could be a theoretically bad matchup, so you can go into the lone Ice Q. I don't know how you get to the lone Ice Q. Seems a little bit difficult. But if you can get your board to just Ice Q and Archeops, your opponent, if Reggie's is only playing Serena and no boss, they'll have a difficult time getting to where they need to be. But they can play the sniping Lucky and just start sniping your Archeops, which could be a problem as well. But the lone Ice Q should be able to carry the game. I'm not entirely sure. Because you're going to have to put a Lugia in play. And same with this guy. And I'm doubting that you're going to be able to just get this guy. I mean, maybe you can. Maybe you can just get the Ice Q into play and say, like, screw everything else. But maybe it works. Maybe it works like that. I'm going to see if I can find something that's, like, super different from the norm that we've been seeing. This one's playing more of a heavy lightning package with the Zapdos as well as the Zeraora, to just kind of try to cheese the knockouts on opposing Lugias. What's interesting to note is these lightning packages are not playing their own Dunsparce, obviously to like not let the Dunsparce stop them from doing their own play, but I don't know, I feel like once you do your play and like let's say your opponent puts down a lightning attacker in their Lugia matchup, I feel like it'd still be like beneficial to put down your own Dunsparce and be like, haha, just kidding, like now that you've knocked out my 1-0 aura that I can't recycle besides this, oh, they have the Clara, then I can just do whatever I want. But the Clara is interesting. I like the Clara. The problem with Clara is like a lot of these attackers are heavy energy commitments, but there's no way to recover special energy in this deck. This one's really interesting because it's playing Duraludon VMAX in the deck to counter other Lugias, which I think is really cheeky because you can pull out the special single strike energies onto the Duraludon. Like you can just set up your Duraludon in one turn. And so now the problem of like Duraludon taking some time to set up or having a difficult time setting up does not exist. This is like a cheat with Arceus, except you don't have Starbirth, which is like the only downside. But I guess if you're like researching and just digging through your deck anyway, you're gonna get there pretty quickly. So this is an idea that's a little bit novel, and I think this could be very, very good. Like this is something where I think about the counter meta. If I'm expecting a lot of Lugias, this is something I would put some time into. Like, and you guys will probably see me put some time into it, especially when I'm moving into testing and making deck profiles. You'll probably see 100% see a deck profile for it, my own version. This one's got the Drapion and no VSTAR just to, deal with Mew. I like having some out to Mew because I think you have to respect Mew in some capacity. This one's playing a Blissey, which is really interesting because it's a way to get your energies back, I guess, technically. And you can also Thornton into the Blissey and just swing out of nowhere for a ton of damage, which is kind of cheeky, but I don't know if it's good. And it's got 2 Evital's as well with the Thornton, so it's very heavily Evital focused. I don't know, very interesting. I don't know if it's good, but I like the idea. The idea is cheeky. But this is like where you start testing these ideas, right? Like you see these ideas and you're like, okay, I'm going to take this one back home and try it. This one's got the Flying Peak to try to set it up in one turn, being able to try to win the Lugia Mirror potentially, and then the Parasol to deal with things like the Tina to try to buy yourself more time, because the Tina can't one-shot the Pika, so you can just put the Tina into play and just cheat that out. I don't know, maybe like in this list, I'd probably play like a Radiant Gardevoir or something just to make myself a little bit tankier. If this is the idea we're going for, because there's no Radiant as it currently stands. But that might be my only like criticism on that list. But yeah, as you guys can see, this is a great resource for kind of that's a different Drapion than I'm used to, but that is also a Drapion, probably also from you. Yeah, look, this one's got the amazing rare Gardevoir, like or Radiant Gardevoir, like I talked about. But yeah, this is the idea behind some of these. Like this one's got the Regigigas to deal with the Mew in it as well, because you can power up the Regigigas in one turn. It makes a lot of sense. You can just Choice Belt and one-shot whatever you want. But you can see, like, there's a Stoutland here as well to get those small pick-off prizes after you've already damaged something. I don't know what the Articuno does, but I feel like it's probably pretty decent. But these are some of the ideas that you can pull from these websites, and you can test them out on your own. I don't think it's, like, hard to test these ideas out on your own. I'm going to potentially, try a bunch out for you guys as well and let you know what I think is good, what's bad. Silver Tempest releases this week. I hope you guys enjoy it. I hope you guys enjoy this new set. It's the final... Okay, I guess not final because we have that one mini set coming out, but it's our final big main set of the Sword and Shield expansion. And next time we'll be talking about cards besides the Exiled Crown or Crown Exile or whatever it is. It'll be new Scarlet Violet mechanics, new Scarlet Violet cards. But you guys will see me testing a lot of stuff towards the end of this week. So please come check it out, come hang out, and I'll do some Warsaw commentary as well. While I watch the game. So thank you guys a ton, and I will see you guys tomorrow for another video. Remember to like and subscribe if you enjoy the content.